Hey everyone, my name is Sawyer and this is my capstone personal project for the fall semester 2023-2024. Today we're going over preparing for an interview and making a resume. Interviews and resumes are things that you're going to come across very frequently in your life, and depending on how well you do them, it's going to determine what careers and opportunities that you're going to be exposed to. I am a Royal Canadian Air Cadet, and coming up this weekend I have the merit review boards with cadets. So I am a level 5 cadet. I've been in the cadet program for 5 years and I am at the rank of flight sergeant. So up until now, I would get promoted at the end of each year if I completed the mandatory training. If you want to be promoted further past the rank of flight sergeant to warrant officer first or second class, you have to go through the merit review boards, which is an interview and assessment process conducted by officers, military members, and Air Cadet League members. So the merit review boards are just like a job interview, except there is a couple little things that we have to do specifically because we are cadets. So how it works basically is you dress in your full ceremonial dress uniform.
Anyways.
So how it works basically is you dress in your full ceremonial dress uniform. There will be up to 3 to 4 members on the board assessing you. You will come into the room, knock on the door 3 times. They will tell you to enter. You enter the room, close the door behind you. You come to attention and salute, and then you introduce yourself.
Good evening, sir. I am Flight Sergeant Sawyer Fader of 259 Panther Squadron, here for the merit review boards.
They will then tell you to take a seat. You will give your resume and cover letter to the board and sit down. They will either conduct a uniform inspection before or after the interview, depends what they want to do. They can really do whatever they want. Once you sit down, the interview process will begin and they will ask you a series of questions. So there are 4 different categories to the questions. There are general cadet knowledge, so this is going to be kind of cadet trivia. They're going to be asking you different terms and things, information within the cadet program. For example, what are the 3 aims of the cadet program? Then there is leadership questions. They will ask you questions that pertain to leadership, since you are applying for a leadership role or rank. So they'll ask you, what is the definition of leadership, or how do you bring out team building or courage in your team? Then there is situational or scenario questions, where they ask you, what would you do if? And you have to answer what you would do in specific scenarios and why you would do that thing. And the last category is something that sometimes they don't do, but usually they will, and that is a global affair question. They will ask you about some random global affair that's going on in the world currently and what you know about it. They don't necessarily want to know your personal opinion on the matter. They just want to know if you know what's going on in the world. So after they've asked you all the questions, you stand up, salute to the highest rank at the table, and exit. This whole process takes between 15 to 30 minutes. They'll ask you around 10 questions, and then we'll get back to you and tell you if you've been promoted or not in front of the whole squadron at a CO's parade up to 3 months after the interview. So for merit review boards, you have to have a personal resume that you will give to the board, just like a regular job interview, that has all your accomplishments on it and that summarizes your individual self. And of course, there are lots of professional opportunities where you need an interview and or a resume to get a job. Pretty much every career or job in the world requires some sort of interview and or resume application, as well as schools. If you're applying to a college or university, usually there'll be an interview process and you'll need to hand in a resume. Alright, let's jump into some rules and tips that you absolutely must know before making your resume. Tip number 1 is your resume needs to be 1 page. Not 2 pages, not double-sided, one singular page. Doesn't matter if you've had every job in the world, you need to find a way to condense all the information onto one page. This makes it more professional, easier to read, and straight to the point. Tip number 2 is spelling. This is a pretty obvious one, but you need to make sure that all your grammar and spelling is absolutely 100% correct. Get a family member or friend to read it over. Do that a couple times. Download a spell check app or extension or some sort. Make sure that your spelling is correct, because if it's not, it shows the assessor that you're not putting as much time or effort in that you should, and it shows that you don't really care about the position that you're applying for. Tip 3 is make it easy to read. So make sure that your layout is very clean, very simple. You have a professional font. All the spacing is correct. It's in a nice layout. The format is all correct. So that is very easy to read, very professional looking, and the experience is nicer for the assessor. It's not just this jumble of information. Tip number 4 is make sure that all your jobs and careers, all your information is listed in reverse chronological order. So this means newest at the top, oldest at the bottom. So your current job will be at the top and your first ever job will be at the bottom. This is because you want your most impressive job to be at the top, front and center, the first thing that they read, because if you were say at the top, if you did it in chronological order, with your first job at the top, then it was like, I worked at McDonald's when I was 14 for 4 months and made French fries. But your most recent job was, I'm the CEO of Apple. You want your most impressive one to be at the top, the first thing that they read. Tip number 5 is list all your information, for the most part, in point form. So all your jobs, education, skills, list it in point form, bullet points, so that it's clean and easy to read. Tip number 6 is make sure that your resume stands out from the crowd. So when you hand in your resume, it's likely not going to be the only one. There's probably going to be a big pile of resumes that the assessor needs to sift through to find the one. So you need to make sure that your resume stands out in some way so that it leaves a lasting impression. So ways to do this would be like make a pop of color, put some color on your resume, maybe like a border or something. Maybe put a picture of yourself on your resume. And another thing to do would be print out your resume, if you have a physical copy, on a thick piece of cardstock rather than thin printer paper. This makes the resume feel more high quality and of value. The last tip, tip number 7, is make sure that you are customizing your resume to each individual job that you are applying for. This is something that I think a lot of people overlook or simply don't do because it's too much work, but I think that it is very valuable to customize your resume to each job depending on what the job description or requirements are asking for. If you're applying for the same kind of job at a bunch of different locations, say you're applying to be a server at a restaurant and you're dropping off your resume at a bunch of different restaurants, that's okay to have the same resume because it's the same job for each different place. But if you're applying for a bunch of different jobs, you need to make sure that your resume conforms to the very specific and different requirements for each job. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at my personal resume and we're going to go over the sections and layout of a resume. So first off, when you look here at the very top, we have my name, big bold letters, probably the most important part of your resume. If your name's not on it, they're not going to know who you are. So name, big, at the top. Right underneath that, I have the example job that I am applying for. So if you customize your resume, you can put the individual job name that you're applying for. Right at the top, easily accessible, you want your contact information. So you want your phone number, email, and address. If you have a LinkedIn account, you can put it there as well. If we move down here, now we can see that we're getting into the girth of the resume. So summary, you want your summary to be at the very top or one of the first things that they read. So summary is going to be a summarization of the entirety of your resume, a single paragraph that's going to briefly explain who you are. This is one of the sections on your resume that you don't put as a bullet point. You put that just as a whole paragraph, just a very professional, brief paragraph that wraps up everything on your resume. Right underneath that, we have education. So if you've gone to university or college, this is where you put your degrees and courses. If not, you can put your high school education down here. And if you took any courses at high school that directly relate to the specific job that you're applying for, you can list them there as well. Right under there, I have skills and certifications. So this is a place that you really want to customize depending on the job that you're applying for. So right under here, first thing at the top, I have standard first aid certified. So if you're applying for a trade position, that's something that they definitely look for. I also have my lifting it right certification and other just proficiencies and skills that relate to the job. Then if we look over here to the right hand column, we have the general, the most important section of your resume. That's going to be your professional experience. So that's all your jobs and careers that you've had over the years. I have volunteer jobs as well as paid positions here. If you want to have a specific section for volunteer hours, then you can, but I just have it all in one. Again, you want it listed in reverse chronological order. So I have my most recent position and my first position down here. For the layout for the jobs, you want the job title at the very top. Underneath, you have the location or company, and then the date. So when you first started to when you stopped, or if you're still doing it, then you put present. And then in bullet points, you have everything that you did at that company, at that job. If you had multiple different jobs at different companies, put them in different sections. We have all the different jobs here, all the way down to the bottom, and that is going to be, for the most part, what a general resume will contain. Make sure that you are customizing your resume to who you are as an individual. Don't just download a template and fill in your information, because that can seem very boring and repetitive. Make sure that you are putting your own individual skills on your resume. Say if you speak a lot of languages, maybe add a section that has all the different languages that you speak. Make sure that you're really making it your own and make it stand out. So as I said, for merit review boards, you need to hand in your resume, give it to the board. I decided to create a cadet-specific resume with all my cadet accomplishments. Some cadets choose to just give their personal resume, same one that you give at a regular job interview, but I decided to create one that was geared directly towards cadets, since those are the types of things that they're looking for. Those are the types of qualities that they want to see anyways.
Usually the part that you remember anyways.
My cadet resume structure is very similar, however. I do have some color on the sides as well as a picture of my squadron's emblem just to make it pop a little bit more. I've got my name at the top as well as the summary. I've got my contact information and education on the side. And then for the main portion, I have all my cadet experience, which is the same as kind of jobs, except I've put it in my different years in the program. Again, in reverse chronological order, as well as my experience at a summer camp. And at the bottom, I put an extra little category for other accomplishments. On my cadet resume, I've included really all the major accomplishments that I've had within the program. So things like command and leadership positions, competitions that I've competed in, awards that I've received, any volunteer or staffing at camps or activities, as well as any rank or position promotions that I've had in the past. Okay, so let's talk about cover letters. Every good resume comes with a cover letter. A cover letter is a one-page summary of who you are. It shows the assessor a little bit of personality and some intimacy. It's not in bullet points, it's in paragraphs, so you can really show a little bit of emotion. So if we look at mine, this is my
cover letter for my cadet application, so it has my rank and name at the top as well as the position that I am applying for. We have the date in the top right corner. Always include the date that you handed in your cover letter and resume, not the date that you created the cover letter. On the left we have my name and address again. And then to start off, we have a formal greeting. So dear, if you know the hiring manager's name, put it there. For me, there's multiple people on the board and I don't know who they are yet. So I just put dear review board members. For the introduction paragraph, I'm just simply introducing who I am and creating a little bit of hook, so why the reader should keep reading. In the center paragraph, this is the girth of the cover letter and why the hiring manager should choose me for the position. And for the last paragraph, it is thanking the reader for their time as well as reinforcing my interest in the position. At the end, I have sincerely with my name printed, as well as you should include your personal signature here as well. And I have my contact information at the bottom. Make sure that in your resume, you're not including any acronyms or abbreviations. It should be extremely professional and formal.
So a cover letter always needs to be specific to every job that you're applying for, since that is really where you get the relatability to each position that you're applying for. So make sure that you're customizing your resume for each individual job application. A few tips for cover letters is make sure that your cover letter is always one page. It should be easy to read with a nice clean layout. Don't drag on and on telling your whole life story. Keep it concise, to the point, and on one page. Avoid repeating exactly what's on your resume. Have it unique with unique information. Don't just make it a copy of your resume just in paragraphs instead of bullet points. Every good cover letter includes a beginning, middle, and end. In the beginning, it's an introduction about yourself as well as a hook, so why the reader should keep reading. The middle includes the main meat portion of your cover letter and is why they should hire you for that position. And the end is thanking the reader for their time as well as reinforcing your interest in the position. Always include your name, date, address, and contact information as well as your personal signature on your cover letter. And lastly, a cover letter is really where you show them your personality and let them get to know you a little bit. Don't go on and on, but it's okay to show your personality and who you are, since these are actual paragraphs and not bullet points, unlike your resume. References are another thing that you can and should include alongside your resume and cover letter. References are exactly what they sound like. They're short letters of recommendation from previous employers and people of importance in your life. References show hiring managers that you are a good person of value and trust. They show that other employers, such as themselves, have had good experiences with you and that they recommend you for employment. I recommend collecting reference letters from people throughout your life. It doesn't just have to be from employers. If you're a high school student, such as myself, you can get them from your teachers. Say if you're applying for a trades job, maybe go consider getting a reference letter from your woodworker metal shop teacher. The more reference letters you have, the better. You should include 1 to 3 reference letters with your resume. Don't overdo it, but the more you collect over time throughout your life, the more options you have for specific jobs and the better selection of references you're going to have. For interview deportment, what they taught us in cadets is when you're nervous and you talk, you tend to speed up and quiet down. So you talk more quietly and fast-paced. This is a huge sign that you're nervous and uncomfortable. So it's important to collect yourself and be confident with your answers. Take a short pause after the question has been given to collect your thoughts. It shows maturity and comfort in the situation. When greeting people, make sure you're being very formal and make sure that you're smiling and appear happy to be there. Even if you're not, make sure that you're excited for this opportunity that you've been given. When sitting down, make sure that your back is straight, you have good posture, your feet are flat on the ground, and you're not fidgeting whatsoever. This makes you look very confident and cool as a cucumber.
And of course, make sure that you are dressing very formally, you look put together. Of course, this depends on what type of job that you're applying for, but just make sure that you look like you put a little bit of effort into your appearance and you don't look sloppy. If you're a teenager, it can be hard to create your resume since you may not have had a lot of job experience. So it might seem like your resume is really thin and poorly constructed with not enough material, but make sure that your resume doesn't just have to include jobs that you've had, especially at a young age. You could include extracurricular activities that you've done, say if you're like a team captain of your hockey team or something like that. Things that have happened in school, so if you've received any awards within your school, if you've taken any leadership classes, stuff like that, skills that pertain to classes that you've taken, as well as classes that directly relate to specific jobs that you're applying for. If you're applying to be a photographer assistant, maybe include that I've taken photography 3 times at high school and your grades within those classes and your relationship with the teacher. The other thing for teens is don't settle for really sad jobs. This obviously depends on the jobs that are available at the time, but don't just see like, hey, I can apply at McDonald's or A&W or something, or be a dishwasher. Try to find a job that you can climb the ladder in. Don't just find a dead-end job that's the first one that you see that everyone else seems to be doing. Try to get out there and find a unique job. It can be difficult, but you want to have some place to grow as a person. And lastly, connections with people in your community are everything. Talk to as many people as you can, be polite, build as many relationships with different people in different fields. This is super underrated, but it can get you so many places at a young age. That's going to be pretty much it for this one. I hope this video contains some valuable information for you. I hope you learned something. Wish me luck on my merit review boards and have a good one.